This is why I got an attitude about the story, because somebody else's moment was hijacked. When you woke up in the morning, when all of us woke up in the morning, the story was not how great Versus was. The story was not, ooh, that was a Versus for the history books. The story was not, ooh, Versus was so good. The story is Tamar Braxton, Cash Money No Limit Versus. That, I think they did a disservice to the whole thing. Hijacked somebody else's, and I'm not implying that it was intentional. Somebody else's moment was hijacked. The next morning, none of the stories related to Versus should have had anything to do with the Tamar Braxton.
Nobody expected this to be the headline that set the internet on fire. One grainy clip. One unexpected pairing. And suddenly, a family already known for explosive drama was pushed into its most shocking chapter yet. Because when fans realized that Tamar Braxton had allegedly been caught getting a little too close with Birdman, the shockwaves didn't stop there. They traveled straight into the heart of the Braxton family, right toward Toni Braxton. What happened next, according to whispers flying through the industry, wasn't calm, classy, or private. It was chaos. Phones allegedly rang off the hook. Voices were raised behind closed doors. And insiders claim Toni didn't just feel blindsided, she felt betrayed. Not by a stranger. By her own sister. And when that realization hit, something reportedly snapped. Old wounds reopened. Old rumors resurfaced. Old footage suddenly looked incriminating. Fans replayed moments they once ignored and asked the question nobody wanted to ask out loud. How long has this really been going on? Because once timelines started colliding, the story stopped being about dating, and started being about loyalty, boundaries, and a sisterhood stretched to its breaking point. Social media erupted into war zones. Team Tamar versus Team Toni. Comment sections turned vicious. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get messier, an alleged insider dropped a single sentence that changed the entire narrative. This wasn't the first time. It was just the first time they got caught. And from that moment on, there was no putting this story back in the box. The clip didn't have sound at first. That's what made it worse. A shaky phone camera. Streetlight glare. Two silhouettes standing just a little too close for comfort. And then the zoom, slow, intentional, unforgiving. The internet did what it always does best. It filled in the blanks before anyone could stop it. By the time the audio version surfaced, the damage was already irreversible. Because once people heard that laugh, sharp, familiar, unmistakable, there was no pretending anymore. That was Tamar Braxton. And the man leaning in, relaxed like this wasn't his first time in the fire, was Birdman. Screenshots detonated across timelines. Blogs raced each other to be first. Fans went from confused to furious in under 5 minutes. And hovering over every post, every reaction, every hot take, was one name nobody could avoid dragging into it: Toni Braxton. Insiders swear Toni didn't find out gently. No quiet phone call. No warning text. According to whispers, she learned the same way the rest of the world did, through a viral clip she never should have had to see. One source claimed she replayed it over and over, not believing what her eyes were telling her. Another said she only asked one question, before going completely silent: since when? That question cracked everything open. Because once people started pulling at the timeline, the story stopped being simple. Old footage resurfaced, Tamar and Birdman laughing backstage years ago, standing shoulder to shoulder at events where nobody thought twice. At the time, it was industry-friendly. Normal. Harmless. Now it felt like breadcrumbs. Fans began comparing dates like forensic analysts. When did Toni and Birdman reconnect publicly? When did Tamar start showing up more frequently? Why did certain appearances suddenly disappear from social media? Nothing was too small to scrutinize. Then came the versus aftermath. What should have been a triumphant, culture-defining moment somehow woke up the next morning buried under one headline after another, none of them about music. Commentators fumed that somebody's moment had been hijacked. They never said who out loud, but the implication burned. The shift in focus felt intentional to some, accidental to others. Either way, the damage was done. Tamar tried to get in front of it fast. She posted a message about support. About family. About people reaching. She even shared a clip meant to prove everything was innocent, everyone together, smiling, joking, like nothing was wrong. But the internet doesn't accept context when it's hungry. It zooms in on gestures. On tone. On the way a hand lingers too long. And then that clip happened. The one that changed the temperature completely. Tamar on stage. Birdman fresh from performing. Sweat on his face. Tamar reaching up, wiping it away with ease that looked practiced. Comfortable. Intimate. The kind of moment that doesn't translate well once it's slowed down and replayed in silence. Comments went feral. That's not your place. That's not sister energy. That's familiarity. Even people who wanted to defend her admitted it looked bad. Tamar clapped back, saying she was only being supportive, that the internet was doing the most. But every response seemed to invite 10 more accusations. Then the family tension leaked. An unrelated argument clip resurfaced, old but suddenly relevant. Voices raised. Accusations about money, loyalty, respect. And in the middle of the chaos, one sister allegedly let something slip that froze everyone watching. You crossed the line. The camera caught Tamar's face changing. Not anger. Shock. The kind that suggests a secret just walked into the room uninvited. Toni, sitting nearby, looked genuinely blindsided. Eyes wide, posture stiff, like she'd just realized she was missing pieces of a story she thought she knew. That's when the internet decided this wasn't rumor anymore. This was history catching up. Blogs claimed this wasn't the first overlap. That names from the past were about to resurface. That old relationships within the same circle blurred lines years ago, and everyone involved agreed not to talk about it. Screenshots from decade-old posts started circulating, suddenly treated like evidence instead of gossip. The narrative split violently. One side accused Tamar of betrayal. A sister code violation. An unforgivable move. The other side said the situation was being oversimplified on purpose. That Tamar's name was easy to drag, easy to villainize, and convenient to blame. And hovering over it all was Toni's reaction, or lack of one. No rant. No emotional post. Just distance. Sources claimed she was furious. Others said she was hurt beyond words. One particularly bold insider claimed Toni felt more embarrassed than angry, that finding out publicly was the real wound. That the man involved mattered less than the humiliation of being the last to know. Then a final detail slipped out. A supposed group message. Unverified. But chilling. I didn't think it would get out like this. No name attached. No context. Just enough to make everyone sit back and realize something crucial. Whatever the truth was, it wasn't meant for public consumption. And if this was only the beginning of what leaked, what else had the family been protecting all these years? By the next morning, the story had mutated into something unrecognizable. What started as a shaky clip was now a full-blown narrative with villains, victims, and alleged cover-ups, and the internet was no longer waiting for confirmation. It was deciding the truth in real time. Every silence became suspicious. Every past moment became evidence. And that's when the leaks allegedly got personal. A blogger with a reputation for never posting without receipts claimed they were sent screenshots of private messages exchanged late at night, messages that painted a far messier picture than anyone expected. According to the posts, Tamar wasn't denying the connection. She was denying the timing. One message allegedly read, "You'll keep acting like this started yesterday." It didn't. Another followed minutes later, "I stayed quiet for years. I'm not the villain here." That single word, years, blew the door off the hinges. Fans spiraled. If this wasn't new, a resurfaced interview from years ago began circulating, him joking about dating in the same circles, and laughing off questions about loyalty. At the time, it sounded harmless. Now it sounded like a warning everyone ignored. Comment sections filled with one repeated line, "He's always the common denominator." Tamar attempted another explanation, this time more emotional. She spoke about being tired of carrying blame, tired of being painted as reckless, tired of protecting everyone else's image while hers took hits. She hinted, never directly stated, that she'd been asked to stay quiet before, to let narratives pass for the sake of peace. That only made things worse. Because the internet translated that as, "You knew it would hurt her, and you did it anyway." Then came the most damaging rumor yet. An alleged voice memo surfaced, unverified, distorted, but explosive, where a woman sounding like Tamar said, "I didn't steal anything. I was already there." The clip cut before context could save it. Blogs ran with it. Fans dissected every syllable. Defenders cried manipulation. Critics called it a confession. Toni, still silent publicly, reportedly reached a breaking point. A source claimed she told someone close to her, "I don't recognize this anymore." Not just the situation, the relationship. Decades of shared history suddenly rewritten by secrets and internet speculation. Another insider alleged Toni felt the betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was strategic. That Tamar should have known how this would look. How it would land. How it would explode. And yet, the most chilling detail came from someone claiming to be on the inside of the family's production world. According to them, cameras weren't rolling when this happened, but they almost were. Conversations about filming were allegedly shut down immediately. Not because there wasn't drama, but because there was too much. Too raw. Too damaging if captured unfiltered. Then, late that night, a final post appeared on a burner account that disappeared minutes later. All I'll say is this, Toni didn't find out once. She found out twice. And the second time was worse. No explanation. No follow-up. Just enough to leave everyone wondering what that meant, and what Tamar hadn't addressed yet. Because if the first reveal shattered trust, what was the second one about to destroy? The final shift didn't come with a scream. It came with distance. By the time the third wave hit, something felt different, colder, heavier, more final. The chaos hadn't slowed, but the tone had changed. This was no longer loud confusion. This was controlled fallout. And the people closest to the situation seemed to know something the public didn't. The first sign was absence. Tamar stopped responding altogether. No posts. No comments. No claps back. The woman known for never letting a narrative go unanswered suddenly went quiet, and that silence landed harder than any denial. Fans noticed immediately. "She's been told to stop," one viral tweet read. Or she knows the next truth makes things worse. Then Toni resurfaced. Not with a rant. Not with tears. With work. A scheduled appearance. Calm voice. Perfect posture. But people who watched closely swore they saw it, the stiffness, the restraint, the way she avoided certain questions without being asked. When someone casually mentioned family, the air reportedly shifted. Toni smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Insiders claimed that behind the scenes, lines had been drawn. Not permanent ones, but protective ones. According to whispers, Toni allegedly made one thing clear to those around her. She wasn't going to fight this in public. Not because she didn't have feelings, but because she didn't want to give the story more oxygen. One source said she felt the narrative had already taken enough from her. Another claimed she believed time, not confrontation, would reveal everything. That belief didn't stop the leaks. A long-circulated rumor suddenly gained traction again, one that suggested the overlap between Tamar and Birdman wasn't the first complicated situation within the same circles. Old blog posts resurfaced. Screenshots of screenshots. Names from the past dragged back into relevance. Whether true or not, the pattern people thought they saw became the story. And patterns are dangerous. Because once the internet believes there's a pattern, it stops listening to explanations. A final alleged insider stepped forward anonymously, claiming the real issue wasn't jealousy or romance, it was communication. That Toni didn't feel betrayed because of who Tamar was linked to, but because of how she found out. That there were chances to speak privately. Chances that passed. Chances that were ignored until the world knew first. That detail hit hard. Suddenly, the story reframed itself. Not a sister versus sister, but a silence versus honesty. People began asking different questions. Would this have blown up if it had been handled quietly? Was the internet the villain, or just the mirror? Birdman remained silent through it all. No statement. No denial. No clarification. His absence became symbolic. Some said it proved guilt. Others said it proved nothing. But everyone agreed on one thing: his silence forced the sisters to carry the weight alone. And that weight showed. A final rumored exchange circulated, again, unverified, but powerful in its simplicity. Allegedly, one sister said, "I would have forgiven it if I hadn't had to find out like this." The reply was never shared. That was the last leak. After that, the story didn't explode anymore. It settled. Fans stopped yelling and started speculating quietly. Support turned into reflection. And the loudest takeaway wasn't about a man or a moment, it was about how fame magnifies fractures that already exist. No reconciliation was announced. No family statement released. No dramatic reunion teased. Just space. And maybe that was the most telling ending of all. Because some stories don't end with closure. They end with people choosing peace over explanation, and letting the internet sit with the mess it helped create. If you're still here right now, understand this: you didn't just watch a story, you witnessed a moment that's still unfolding. These are the kinds of situations that don't resolve quietly. They resurface when nobody expects it. One post. One interview. One offhand comment that suddenly confirms everything people tried to explain away. This is exactly why you cannot disengage now. Liking this video isn't just support, it's how you keep this conversation alive in the algorithm before it gets buried under the next distraction. Commenting is where the real discussion happens, where timelines get challenged, where people who know something always seem to show up first. If you've got a theory, a detail everyone missed, or a reaction you haven't seen anyone else say out loud, that comment section is where it belongs. And if you're not subscribed, you're taking a risk. Because when the next piece of this story drops, and it will, there will be no warning. No countdown. No apology. Just a headline that makes everything before it look incomplete. Subscribers catch that moment in real time. Everyone else hears about it later and tries to catch up. These stories don't stay frozen. They evolve. They shift. They expose new layers when people least expect it. So stay locked in. Turn on notifications. And don't look away now. Because the next update won't ask if you're ready, it'll just change everything.